Patriots, Steelers, Trubisky, Zappy, Thursday, Amazon. Yeah.
Did you listen to the Six Rings and Football Things Cadlick's Crucial Clashes edition? Because I essentially started with the same fake announcer voice trying to hype up something that sucks.
I mean, we are all just digging deep and trying to find a way to get people fired up for a game that, aside from party lines, geographical loyalty, and the want to wager, because there is such a tasty bet out there and the world should be in on it, and we'll get to that in just moments. I got to tell you, folks, this is the definition of you are truly a fan, a degenerate, or both. The Thursday night Amazon, December 7th, 2023, New England Patriots at Pittsburgh Steelers affair. Patriots have already been flexed out of Monday Night Football, Andy, and I'll tell you, if they could flex out Thursday night games as well, I'm sure Bezos et al. Thought, is there any way? Can we just a little wiggle room? I mean, we thought it was going to be, because 6 months ago, and hello, good morning, how are you? Good day, wherever you're listening to this, anywhere, domestically, internationally, the audience grows with each and every day and each and every amazing Patriots game. This is the latest Six Rings and Football Things podcast with Fitzy and Hart, brought to you, of course, as always, by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel, make every moment more. FanDuel.com/6rings to sign up today. Take advantage of their incredible offers like their no sweat first bets and same game parlays. We'll have our FanDuel Sportsbook bet of the game, bet of the week coming up later on. Don't forget to hashtag Fade Fitzy and make your family a mint and help pay for the holiday season. I'm sure 6 months ago, Andy, when we had our little scheduled release party on WEEI, we saw Steelers Patriots early December. We were thinking like, well, the Pats aren't probably going to win the AFC East, but this could really be for a wild card spot. This could be for like playoff seeding. This is what December football and the American Football Conference is all about. And it's true. One team is competing currently for a wild card spot that they hold with a 7-5 record. The other team is the New England Patriots, who are 2-10 on the season and are so bereft of star power that in the Amazon promotional graphic, it was TJ Watt for the Steelers and Bill Belichick for the Patriots. And at this point, if Belichick decided to put himself on the active 53 and suit him up and strap him on tomorrow night, I'd be all for it, because I really need something to entertain me aside from truly inept, inane football. Mitchell Trubisky, Bailey Zappi. Oh, God.
Well, I've learned from mediocre comics like yourself that it's never a bad thing to reuse a joke. So I'm going to say Tom Brady.
Super not okay. That's actually kind of a dicky thing to say. That was actually an asshole, honestly.
Tom Brady is rolling in his offensive grave looking at this game where the FanDuel people predict that 30.5 points would be the total. They used to roll out of bed and score 30 against Dick LeBeau. They used to run.
Tom Brady had he had all the answers. This was like the team in the defense that he basically, when he said like, I have all the answers to the test, like he never worried about this. He always knew he could. 27 was the minimum. He just crushed Dick LeBeau's defense. And now
we wonder,
27 points will be scored in this game.
Can they get to 7? Can they get to 8? Do I hear 8? Anybody see 8? 8? How about 9? 9?
Right.
Does anybody say 9? Because
no.
Double digits? Come on now. What are they? What are they using? An MTV Rock and Jock ball? It's worth twice as many points.
I mean, honest to God, I ask at large. I mean, we'll get to the bet in a little bit, but FanDuel has had, I think it opened at 31.5. It's down to 30.5 now for the over-under. I mean, if you just made the game 1st to 13 and you called it so everyone could get to bed, we could start the post-game show early and not be on the radio till 2 a.m. Eastern time. Would anyone argue?
No,
I don't
you
think
know who I really feel bad, legitimately kind of feel bad for, if you can feel bad for a guy who's making boatloads of money. Al Michaels. This game is beneath him. It's on streaming service at on a Thursday night, two pitiful football teams with backup quarterbacks. Like, this is a guy that's done some of the most important games in the last, half century of sports in all sports.
If you asked people who is the if you asked, artificial intelligence, show me a photograph of the most prominent American sports play-by-play voice, it would be Al Michaels.
And he has to slum it with these bums. And that I'm actually, the one thing I think borderline could be interesting, because he doesn't hold back. He lets his tone, and he has snide remarks. Like, he is going to say things during this game that are going to rub the Rooney family and the Kraft family the wrong way, would be my guess. Because, as you would say, no F's given by Al Michaels. What are you going to do? Get rid of me? Good luck with that. The only person that can get rid of me now is God when I die. Otherwise, I can do whatever the hell I want.
And I'm doing pretty good not eating any vegetables to date. So, yeah, good luck with that.
But he's going to say something tonight that's going to be, it's going to hurt Patriot Nation, but it's going to be true. It's going to be mean. It's going to be true.
There'll be a lot of lamenting of the way things used to go versus what reality is now for these teams. I think that's just, in Kirk Herbstreit's going to try to provide some form of color commentary. Maybe Herbstreit is preparing some sort of like draft prep. That would be the best he could do, not actually calling the game.
Yeah. Caleb Williams, Drake May talk. Because I do believe, I said this
I'm in for that.
The way they had on Fox, they had the Strahan-Gronkowski in-game interview because they realized the game was so crappy they needed to fluff it up a little like it was a preseason broadcast for the Patriots. That's actually not a bad idea because I actually think the Steelers should be in line for a quarterback too. So if Herbstreit talked about the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft or whatever, all those guys, like go 1 and 2 deep for the Patriots and then even say, and the Steelers might be looking if they don't feel great about Pickett and where he's going. So that's a good idea. If you're producing this game, I'm more interested because that's better than the game.
When we finish up the podcast, I'll make sure to get Drew Esikoff on the phone and see if he'll take our advice and steer Herbstreit towards
Drew Fitzy. How's it going?
Yeah, it's been a while, buddy. Listen, so I mean, to me, that would be some of the allure if I knew that I could hear Herbstreit talking about like, I've seen this guy, player out of Iowa, this guy out of Nebraska, be a great fit for the Patriots. They need this at tackle. They need this over here. This quarterback would be, but nobody knows. No one knows who's coming back as coach. No one knows if there's going to be change in the personnel department. No one knows anything about the 2024 Patriots, aside from the fact that they have a multitude of needs, which will likely be exposed once again in front of a national streaming audience. And it's a shame, too, for the Thursday Night Football fan or people that just like to consume the NFL at large, because as we'd previously mentioned, last week's Thursday Night Football game was by far the most entertaining of the season. 76 points total scored between the Cowboys and the Seahawks, a back and forth affair, 3 straight hours of good old fashioned kick off the holidays football fun. And now, I mean, honest to God, if there are 23 points scored in this game, I would be stunned.
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling you, though, the only door I leave open for points is it's so poorly played that it leads to points by the defenses. The offenses suck so bad because there are 2 good defenses, competitive defenses. The Steelers are second in the league in turnover differential. They have 12 interceptions. They have a guy with 14 sacks. They certainly can create turnovers. And we know the Patriots defense is still trying. They're still competing. They could force Mitchell Trubisky into a mistake or two. And that's why I think it's interesting. If you look at our friends at FanDuel, I know we'll get to the bet. I'm not betting any of this, but the the Pittsburgh defense is plus 650 to score a touchdown. Better odds than Hunter Henry, who's at plus 700. So they believe the Pittsburgh defense, which doesn't play offense, has a better chance to score than arguably the Patriots' best red zone target, Hunter Henry. And the Patriots defense is at plus 1,200, which is better than Mike Gesicki, who a person in the summer bet me would have 12 touchdowns as a red zone threat for the Patriots. So the defense
12 receptions is maybe.
I'll take the under on that too, because he doesn't seem to be on the same page with the quarterbacks he plays with. But defenses are every bit as likely to score in this game as guys who are actually paid to score in this game.
Yeah, the Steelers defense, it's not the steel curtain, but it's still a pretty damn good one. Now, I understand Pittsburgh is coming off of a stunning defeat last week versus the Arizona Cardinals. That game was very, very wonky in so many ways. Cardinals pull off a long touchdown drive, which sort of stuns the Steelers. They should be able to get back into it. Pickett gets hurt. There's 2 Mother Nature insertions, like 2 long weather delays. Like Trubisky comes in. They're all out of sorts. I'm sure Deontay Johnson wanted to punch him again. Because they don't apparently get along very well. So I can see why the offense stalls out. It's kind of one of those, I think after this game plays out, it'll just be one of those like, they had a little stumbling block. It was one of those games, but now they're playing true Steelers football and they're back on track. It's going to be a slog, folks. The Patriots defense has been great. Like we talked about, they've only given up 30 points over their last 4 games, an average of 8.67 points over their, they gave up 6. Geez, my God, they've given up 6 7, and 6. They've been giving up just over 6 points a game the last 3.
Mhm.
So, oh my God. 10. Yeah. Well, they gave up the 10 to the Colts, 10 to the Giants, and 6. So yeah, they've been giving up 8.67 point average over the last 3 games. Oh, and 3
I was
during
told
that
there'd
time as
be
well.
no math on this podcast.
I'll take care of it since I know you're a little under the weather. That's my domain, that and mediocre comedy. So right. And when we need all the subpar analysis, we'll come to you. So the Steelers are giving up Steelers themselves as well, not giving up very much. This is going to be a grind and an old-fashioned slug out.
Yeah, but not a good way.
No, but not a good way.
It's not
by the way,
steel curtain versus 03-04 Patriots defense where you're like, these are the great defenses. Points will be at a premium.
Those are awesome games. Like even
This
in
is gonna
05.
be crappy offense.
Yeah, honestly, Trubisky, Pickens, Warren. Now, Patriots aren't giving up much on the ground. They gave up 1.2 yards per carry to the Chargers, and which was spectacular. Austin Eckler couldn't get anything going. Do you expect much from Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren? Jaylen Warren is a nice hit the short passing game. Screen action could work pretty well for him. Najee Harris between the tackles, not going to happen.
Well, Najee Harris missed practice on Tuesday, and I don't know if that's just short week veteran workhorse rest day or if there's a chance he is actually limited for a Thursday night affair. That may actually hurt the Patriots. I think if they went to Warren more, he's the more explosive player, give him more opportunities to make plays.
Yep.
For a Patriots team that off and on has had some tackling issues throughout the year. As well as they've played, there's been a few times where tackling's been an issue, and I think Warren is a guy that can take advantage of potential missed tackles. I think on a Thursday night, short week, people are tired, sore, banged up. I think the Steelers will run the ball a little bit. I think both teams are going to run the ball a little bit. Ezekiel Elliott obviously is going to have to fill in for Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe you get a Kevin Harris call up so I can see my big thighed buddy try to.
I was going to say, is that who's going to get is he going to get the bump? It's going to have to be.
I would think. I mean, Ty Montgomery is available. The other, what's the guy? LaMichael, whatever the other guy.
Jermichael. Could it be a big Jermichael Hasty game?
I mean, I guess I'm really not going to predict that necessarily, although he is available in our FanDuel player prop areas. So they think he is at least a consideration to have. But I would think you might see Zeke and Kevin Harris versus Najee Harris and Warren and
Jaylen Warren, right?
Because I don't think either team wants their quarterback throwing the ball 30 times.
No.
That's a recipe for disaster by Tree Rivers.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. How many rivers or points for the Patriots? I'm sure that's a bet somewhere, and I'm tempted to take the exactly. Although I'm sure the under has tasty odds. Looking at the Tuesday injury report, no Ramondre. He'll be on the shelf for a couple of weeks with the ankle injury. Probably no Pop Douglas. I wouldn't rush him back at all, especially considering it's his second trip to the concussion protocol. Zeke, Sidiso, Sean Wade, Dietrich Wise, all removed from the injury report for illness. 2 for illness, 1 with a thigh, 1 with an ankle. As far as the Steelers go, you had no Kenny Pickett,
real quick,
and no Najee Harris Tuesday. Yeah,
Trent Brown was listed as limited, but when the reporters were out there, he just stood off to the side.
I saw it. It was weird.
So he is definitely questionable. Now, he's already rotating over the last couple of weeks with Connor McDermott because Bill Belichick said they both deserve to play. I don't know if that's actually true or not.
Deserves got nothing to do with it, as they said in Unforgiven.
Right. But coming off a game where the protection wasn't great for Khalil Mack, he moved around and gave everybody problems, including Onwenu. Now you have TJ Watt, who's every bit as good, maybe better. That's something to keep an eye on, that offensive line versus Watt.
Yeah, the leading tackler on the Steelers defense, believe it or not, is old pal Elandon Roberts, which caught me off guard. That was a bit of a surprise.
He's going to run through an MFer's face.
Exactly. Made for a nice fullback. I remember when we used to have those. That was fun. So I also read from a Steelers blog that if Elandon Roberts isn't good to go, 2 recently retired linebackers who have been on the practice squad for the Steelers, Blake Martinez and old pal Miles Jack, who still isn't over the AFC Championship and the inadvertent getting whistled out of bounds after they took the Dion Lewis fumble. They could both see some action as well. Steelers defense is just tough overall. You've got
very good
TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Alex. What is the name of the other defensive end? Who also Hightower? He's awesome. He's
But yeah,
getting
front to back, everybody. They
Yeah.
have talent. They
Joey
have,
Porter's excellent.
Fitzpatrick.
Minka
As I said,
Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
when you have 12 interceptions by 10 different players, 10 different players have picked off a pass. That is a nightmare for a couple quarterbacks. I'm not saying Mac's going to play, but Bailey Zappi gives the other team the chance to catch the ball every time he plays.
Okay, so you had 43 degrees, a little wind, and a lot of rain on Sunday, which obviously made the passing game, any sort of offense for the Patriots difficult. Oh, and their talent and their lack of confidence. Now you won't have the wind and the rain, but it's still going to be ice cold outside, and you have a better defense. Aside from the Patriots defense scoring, because Mitch Trubisky is Mitch Trubisky, tell me how and why the Pats could score in this game.
Run, big play. Run, big play. Like you hit
The one shot, yeah.
Right. Either Parker or Thornton gets down the field and they actually catch it. They stay in bounds and you pick up 30, 40 yards. Chunk plays. I do think Zappi likes to take those shots. He seems like he has an affinity for those, including to Parker. Like they have a little thing. He trusts him. So I think that's what it'll be like. Run, lull them to sleep. Like we're just going to feed, and then boom, go deep. I think that's it.
Does Parker land his foot inbounds this time? Does Tyquan Thornton actually hold on to the ball with the pressure of the national audience watching? Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, like if you had to, I asked Cadlick this on the other pod, if you had to pick a Patriots pass catcher to, have a day, have a game, and I'm not saying it's a great game, but just like kind of lead the group.
Oh, yeah.
Who's your guy?
Juju Smith-Schuster, revenge game.
Okay, Juju's an option. Cadlick went with Devontae Parker is an option. I think Hunter Henry could be an option just because I like Hunter Henry.
But like the other point you made, which can't be overlooked, is like no one really practices. Like everyone is just managing how sore they still are.
Right.
Players have said for years, you only first start feeling like a human being that can move around normally on Thursday, and then you have to rush into 3 hours of human car crashes again in the cold against a team like Pittsburgh that A, normally just tries to hit hard, period, because that's the nature of their beast. B, is looking to get one back after crap in the bed last weekend as well. And C, would love nothing more than to tap dance on the slowly filling grave of Bill Belichick and the 2023 New England Patriots. Belichick had his way with Tomlin far more often than not in the good old days. Brady's gone. Gronk is gone. They don't have to worry about him putting on a show like he did in that great 2017 game. That was one of the best regular season games of the Bill Belichick era, that 2017 one where, Jesse James, what is a catch? Harmon's pick in the end zone at the end. Gronk, unstoppable in the entire second half. Just awesome freaking football game. Those days are long gone. And the Steelers, like I said, have hold of a playoff spot. I'm sure they're going to have an ultra conservative approach. There's no Matt Canada, but it would still be a very similar effort. I wouldn't be surprised, Andy, if Mitch Trubisky, I don't think there's a pass attempts parlay or option prop on FanDuel minus 19.5. Maybe I'd set the over under at 18.5 pass attempts for Trubisky. I'd probably still take the under. I'm sure they're just going to try to hammer the Patriots over and over again into submission. But we will see. That's why they play the games. Lucky us. All right, let's get to the FanDuel Sportsbook Bet of the Week. Each and every week here on the Six Rings of Football Things podcast, we give you our pick in the Patriots game, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel, make every moment more. FanDuel.com/6rings. And we throw you a propositional bet. I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am not going to take the New England Patriots this week. Even I, the ultimate Foxborough football fan, even I, the ultimate Patriots homer, I can't do it anymore. I gave it to them last week. They didn't even score. Until they score again here on the 6 Points podcast, as we're supposed to call it, until they score again and realize what they did, they are even in my timeout corner, Andy. The over-under is 30.5. I'll take the under. But I will take this. Here's a tasty little one that should pay nice dividends. First drive parlay. Steelers first drive punt, Patriots first drive punt is still plus 115. 150. That feels like free money.
I like
$1.50 back for every dollar bet. Hell yes. So I'll take the Steelers, giving 6, the under, and I'll take the first punt drive for each of the Patriots and Steelers plus 150. What do you got?
So it's interesting because if you gave the Patriots 6 points, they would have won and or pushed for each of the last 3 games. So I actually considered taking the Patriots here with the 6 points. But then I thought Mike Tomlin's pissed. He called last week's effort a JV football game.
Yep.
and they're at home, which I
Mhm.
think matters on a short week. And quite honestly, they're just the far more talented football team, sort of across the board in all areas. You could even argue at the backup quarterback position that their backup is better than your backup. So I'll lay the points with the Steelers. I think it's going to be a dogfight. 6 is going to matter. You come down to it. And then, so that's my negative bet, or realistic bet, I guess. Give me the Steelers. And then I'm going to stay optimistic. There's a guy that I think deserves a touchdown who's going to be in an elevated role. His name is Ezekiel Elliott. I love what he's done all year. No Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's going to get plenty of chances to tote the rock. He also catches it and has had some nice catch and runs. So give me Zeke TD at plus 230 anytime score there.
A touchdown in general, let alone one by Zeke, would be. I mean, people, the sarcastic tweets that will follow on the platform formerly known as Twitter will be legendary if the Patriots score a touchdown, let alone any points. So once again, I'll take the Steelers giving 6, and it hurts so bad, the under, and I'll take the first drive ends in a punt for both teams at plus 150. Andy wants the Steelers as well. I presume he's with me on the under, and he'll take an anytime TD for Zeke at plus 230. If you're watching on YouTube, Andy was doing the Zeke feed me thing. He wasn't just trying to work out a kink in his wrist. I don't understand how. I mean, yeah, okay. It's a game. What do you want? I mean, there's nothing else we can offer about this. There's nothing else to sex this game up. It's football. It's on. You're gonna watch probably
2 Hall of Fame coaches, right?
True. I mean, the Steelers still under Mike Tomlin have never had a losing season. They currently sit at 7-5. They have a couple winnable games the rest of the way. The wild card situation in the AFC in general got thrown for a loop with the Bengals re-entering the chat on Monday night after Jake Browning's spectacular 27 for 32, 354 and a touchdown effort on the road against the Jaguars. Steelers look to keep a firm grasp on their wild card slot. They'll have to contend with the Browns. They'll have to deal also with a couple of teams in the AFC South as well, in the Colts and the Texans, who are looking to snag a spot. And who knows what happens in the AFC South, because Trevor Lawrence will be out for a couple of weeks. It is going to be absolute bedlam the entire rest of the way. We're talking like, Jingle All the Way competing. What was the name of the toy in Jingle All the Way? Rocket Man or
something like
you know
that.
what I mean? Yeah, something
That's
like
a deep
that.
pull.
I went deep on that one. Yeah. It's going to be absolute Black Friday chaos competing for that last spot. But for the New England Patriots, look.
Hey, they haven't been eliminated. So stop that talk.
That's right. Yeah. There's still, let's do some path math right now. Look, folks, you look for a little bit of entertainment, look for a couple of people to continue to develop and play hard that you're going to want to hold on to for next year. And above all, go Panthers. And we'll leave it at that. All right. This has been your preview of Patriots Steelers on the Six Rings and Football Things feed. Thank you guys for listening. As always, each and every week when we bring you the bet of the week brought to you by FanDuel, as well as our preview, we bring you also a Pat's Media member chat. And our guy, Mike Cadlick, of course, if you haven't had a chance to, go listen to the Cadlick's Crucial Clashes podcast here on the Six Rings and Football Things feed. This week, he had a chance to catch up with Nesson's Dakota Randall. Excellent guy, quality chat on the state of affairs and what Dakota thinks is going on with the Patriots now and what he thinks is to come. So thanks for tuning into the preview and the bet of the week. Good job, Terp. Good job, Hart. Good. Okay by me. And coming up now, it's Mike Cadlick and Dakota Randall from Nesson. Enjoy the game, folks. Don't forget, we will be live on WEEI with the Six Rings post-game show from 11-something-ish till 1:55-ish. And oh, what a time it's going to be. Grab your nog, get your hot cocoa, put on your Santa slippers, and we will have us a holiday good time. We'll bring all the good cheer we possibly can, because Lord knows this one's going to be a slog. That's the pod. Here comes Cadlick and Dakota Randall. Good day. God bless. Thanks for listening, folks. And as always, Pats.
All right. Welcome back into the Six Rings and Football Things podcast here for WEEI and Odyssey Sports. This is Mike Cadlick down at Gillette Stadium, back with our beat reporter check-in. And I am joined today by none other than Nesson's Dakota Randall. Dakota, thank you for joining me here on the Six Rings beat reporter interview.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
risky move by you having me in here right after I ate a huge Tupperware of leftover mac and cheese, but we'll power through it, right?
I am fresh off a spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich that we were.
I got one of those coming too.
Yeah, so gratefully provided by the Gillette Stadium PR team. So we're here. We're going to talk about what's going on down here with the Patriots this week before they head off to Pittsburgh to take on the 7-5 Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is. I don't want to say that. I guess that's wrong to say that they're anywhere close to as bad as the Patriots, but it seems like they're a team that's just kind of finding their way to wins, where the Patriots continue to find their way to losses. They're 2-8, and they also now have lost arguably their best player on offense in Ramondre Stevenson. It was reported after the game that his X-rays came back negative, but he would have an MRI to determine the severity of his injury. And then Adam Schefter reported today that Stevenson will miss a few weeks with what was deemed to be a high ankle sprain. So, Dakota, I'm just curious what you make of the injury, what you make of the depth behind Ramondre moving forward. And, I mean, realistically, Patriots sitting at 2-10, looking like there could be an IR stint on the way. Do you think he should or will even be back the rest of the season?
No, I don't think he should come back at all. And I believe this is the first offseason that he's going to be eligible for an extension.
Yep.
So I imagine part of his mindset is you might want to make a business decision there.
Right.
And I think it's also just best for the Patriots to let him rest. Maybe in years past, he's the kind of player who you would trade early rather than trading too late. Like in years past, I'd look at Ramondre Stevenson and be like, that's a guy I could see getting traded this offseason. But because they didn't really get anything out of Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris, and they haven't developed anybody behind him, they are going to need him next season probably. So I think let him rest, let him get over that injury. That's the way to go. But for the Patriots, it's just kind of it's amazing that they are what their record says they are, and I do believe that they are a very bad football team. But I mean, you can't have a conversation about them without also talking about they don't have their best running back, they don't have their best receiver, they don't have their best edge rusher, they don't have their best cornerback, arguably, in Christian Gonzalez. And at different points in the season, they haven't had some of their best offensive linemen. So I just think injuries are a huge part of what's going on with this team, and it's just there's another one here with Ramondre.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good point too that you mentioned. A guy who could potentially be traded going into the season, because that is sort of the thing with running backs, and they had their big Zoom meeting this offseason.
Right.
And
seriously, I mean, if you're Ramondre, you're thinking about that kind of stuff. And if Pierre Strong had become what they would have wanted him to develop into, you absolutely would look at someone like Ramondre Stevenson as someone who you could trade and get real value for. I mean, and same thing with someone like Damian Harris. And I would have thought in the past, he's someone who they would have traded a year early. I was kind of surprised they held on to him, but I think that was maybe because they needed all the help they could get on offense last year. But regardless, I do think that kind of factors in at some level.
Yeah, and that's kind of why, again, they bring in Ramondre, and they kind of eventually, it was him, and he was behind Harris, and then they sort of split carries, and then Ramondre became the lead back, and all of a sudden Harris is gone. Again, that was probably the idea with guys like Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong, and it obviously didn't happen. You mentioned all of the, I guess, problems too with this team, the injuries, obviously the offensive line, the wide receivers, but ultimately also the quarterback position has sort of deteriorated here as well. We just spoke to Bailey Zappi down here, the Patriots' presumed starter, coming up this Thursday against the Steelers. I'm curious what you made of his first start. Obviously, no turnovers from the quarterback position, but they also didn't score any points against LA. Do you think the product looked better? Do you think they should continue on with Zappi this week? And I guess we can sort of get this into sort of a Steelers game thought as well. Do you think they're going to be any better off this week against Pittsburgh at the quarterback position?
Well, I think Zappi looked like what he is, which is a borderline backup in the NFL. He didn't have any turnovers. I think PFF and some of the other sites had him for 0 turnover worthy plays. I would disagree with that. Yeah. There was that one play that was tipped that was almost intercepted. As far as this, I think he took 5 sacks. Going back and watching it, I would say maybe 2 or 3 of those were on him. And it was just more of what you usually get from him. He's not a high-level quarterback. I think parts of his game are better than what you get from Mac Jones. I think he's better with play fakes. I think he's more fluid in the pocket. He's obviously more elusive. He seems to have better composure. He doesn't get sped up as fast as Mac does. But at the end of the day, he just isn't a high-level talent, and certainly not good enough to overcome all the other issues that are on the Patriots offense. That said, I think he was really bad in the first half, but I thought he was solid in the second half. It wasn't his fault that the offensive line cratered at the end of that game, or that Tyquan Thornton couldn't catch the ball. I think Zappe did enough to win what was an awful game. And so, yeah, I think he definitely deserves to make another start. I think if the Patriots are at all going to consider going back to Mac Jones, I don't think you would do it in this spot on the short week. You would give the sort of mini bye that comes after Thursday and think about it then. I've been wondering that, like, is there any scenario in which he does come back? Has the ship sailed there? Because, one of my overarching thoughts when I left that game, or when the Chargers game ended, was, I think you could argue that if Mac Jones played that game, the Patriots win. That's assuming that, and that's a huge assumption to make now, that Mac didn't make any disastrous mistakes, which of course is his thing now. But, at the end of the day, he is better at pushing the ball down the field and orchestrating the offense than Zappe. And in that kind of game, they only needed 7 points. Like, if Mac could have avoided one of those interceptions, maybe they would have won that game. But then as far as going into the Steelers game, and I know we're going to talk about it in a little bit with the draft ramifications, but this is a fascinating game that could be, in all the wrong reasons. It could be like 10-7, 6-3, worse. Bailey Zappe versus Mitch Trubisky, like it's going to be horrifying to watch. I say that, maybe it goes, sometimes you're so convinced that something's going to happen, and then we could go out in this game as like 25-18.
Well, I mean, it happened Monday Night Football, with Jake Browning and the Bengals last night. Browning threw for like 400 yards. They scored 31 points. They win the game. So I guess you're right. You never know. Before we do, dip into the Steelers game, grab your game prediction before we get out of here, I do want to talk path to the top of the draft for the Patriots. You've been constantly on top of this on Twitter, I've noticed, at Dak
I got nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's okay. I do the same thing
I got
too.
nothing else to do but dig into the draft stuff.
No, that's the fun stuff. That's why I'm looking forward to the offseason. You get your mock drafts going, you get your scouting and things like that, and there's a chance that there isn't really much to scout besides the top two players in this draft and potentially quarterbacks Caleb Williams and Drake May, because as of right now, according to our friends at tankathon.com, the Patriots, if the season ended today, would have the number 2 overall pick. 10-2, 5 games left. Cardinals the only team ahead of them. Patriots
2-10.
What did I say?
You said 10. You said 10-2.
Oh, yeah,
very incorrect.
No, very incorrect. 2-10. Excuse me. So, can they get to the number 1 pick? Where do they land? Your prediction, and I guess just your thoughts in general, and the fact that we're sitting here talking about a 2-10 football team in December and already focused on the 2024 draft.
Well, here's what you have to look at. The best way to look at it for fans right now, to sort of make it simple, is if the Patriots win fewer than 2 games the rest of the season, they are guaranteed a top 3 pick.
All right. So
the question then becomes, where are the 2 wins? I think we all point to the season finale against the Jets. Assuming that Aaron Rodgers doesn't play,
which at this point it doesn't seem like it. Jets continue to lose.
Now the Patriots are more than capable of losing that game. They've almost lost the last 3 games against the Jets. Just so happened the Jets were dumber on those days.
Yeah.
But let's say they win that game. So where's the other win? I don't think it's Kansas City. Obviously, I certainly don't think it's at Buffalo. Maybe if it was here, you could craft an argument. And now the way that Denver's turned their season around, I don't think you can pick the Patriots in that game. That seems like a penciled in loss.
Road game as well. That's in Denver.
So. Right. So this is the other one. This is the game where, on the one hand, it was good for the Patriots that Kenny Pickett got hurt the other day because that made the Cardinals win that game. But on the other hand, good for the Patriots fans who won the draft. So bad for the Patriots. You have to start doing this reverse logic. But now the Patriots are going to go up against Mitch Trubisky, which I think you would assume that is now a more winnable game for them because he is horrible as well.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing, is if the Patriots do come out and lose this game, that basically wraps it up in my opinion, of getting a top 3 pick, because I just don't see them getting a second win in those other 3 games. So that's huge. And then from that point on, you're just kind of looking at, what does Carolina do? Do they get a second win? I think they face, for them, I look at the Falcons game, the Buccaneers game, as maybe the most winnable for them. But the strength of schedule stuff now is basically a dead tie between the Patriots and the Panthers, where if they finish with the same record, there is a path for the Patriots to get that top pick. But the other big one to look at is Arizona, where, again, if the Patriots only win 1 game the rest of the season, the gap between the Patriots and Cardinals in strength of schedule is so wide at this point. I don't know if it can close over the next 4 or 5 weeks, where, if the Patriots just lose 1 game the rest of the way, they might also be essentially guaranteed the second overall pick.
It's fascinating. It's fun. It's interesting to kind of follow it this way. It's certainly something I've never done.
Well, and they might never be in the spot again. So it is kind of fun to go down the rabbit hole and kind of lean into it, and it helps that there were, 2 high-level quarterback prospects
Right.
at the top, as well as a generational receiver talent that makes it more interesting than if we were like, well, it's one quarterback and then a tackle and an edge rusher. It's a good year for them to be at the top.
100%. And so, quick question for you before we talk Steelers: if Chicago, or if Carolina ends up with the number one pick, it goes to the Chicago Bears. Their quarterback right now, Justin Fields, is playing okay football. Do you think there would be a chance where the Patriots are sitting at the second overall pick and both quarterbacks in Williams and May are there? Or do you think they might have to trade up one spot? Chicago might use that as a bidding piece or whatever you want to call it. And or like, what do you think they might do with the quarterback position? Just your opinion.
I think it's fascinating. I think if the season ended right now, I feel like the Bears would have to take Caleb Williams.
I think so too.
I think they'd have to. You just haven't. I don't know if Justin Fields can make like high-level NFL throws that you need to be a championship football team. Like, he's fun to watch. Fantasy people love him for obvious reasons, but at the end of the day, like, I just don't think you could look at it right now and say he's the guy. I mean, what has he won 6 games in the NFL?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know how you can make a convincing case just because he runs around a few times.
Yeah.
So if I think if it's the Bears, they have to, or the Bears, they have to take the quarterback. But I think the other team that's becoming increasingly fascinating with this is the Cardinals, where, I think at one point in the season you would have said they'd have to take the next quarterback, right? But you were always wondering, like, what's it going to look like when Kyler Murray gets back? I think he's looked all right.
I think they're 2-2 since he's come back, too.
Yeah, and I think he's played well. He's been running well. It doesn't look like he has any lingering effects from the knee injury. So, and you look at more mock drafts and big boards now, and most of them have Arizona taking Marvin Harrison if they're able to, which is good news for the Patriots if they're sold on someone like Drake May.
Yep. So let's wrap it up. We talked about the idea that, the Patriots might have 2 winnable games left. One of them is this Pittsburgh game. But how do you see it playing out? I think the total right now at FanDuel is like 30 points. Steelers are 6-point favorites. It's going to be interesting, gross, fascinating, all the buzzwords you want to call it out there in Pittsburgh this Thursday. But how do you see it playing out? Can the Patriots get another win?
Yes, I think the Patriots come out, fast start. They get up early, 7-0.
Okay.
But Bailey
Score a touchdown, huh?
Yeah, Bailey
All right.
Zappi keeps throwing deep shots for Devontae Parker, which is like all they have at this point when those two are on the field. They hit on one of them. Patriots go up 7-0. Get shut out the rest of the way. Steelers win 10-7.
All right, love
it. They grind it out. It's an awful game, but the Steelers get it done.
All right, you heard it here first. 10-7 from Nesson's Dakota Randall. You can. I'm trying to think of where this podcast will be posted, but regardless, you can hear my prediction with myself and Andy Hart on our Matchups podcast coming down the pipe on the Six Rings and Football Things feed. Before we go, Dakota, tell the people where they can find you on Twitter, and where they can read all your stuff.
You can read all my stuff, for better or worse, at Nesson.com, and then on Twitter or X, just at Dak Randall. That's it.
Awesome. Dakota, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yep, of course. We will be back here on the feed every day. Got you covered with all of our Patriots and now NFL draft news and notes. So make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the Six Rings and Football Things podcast. For Fitzy Hart and myself, Mike Cadlick, down at Gillette Stadium. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time.